So far away, Lucas. I'm hoping that you don't have to edit this one, because I've got a green drink in front of the green screen.
Oh no, he's doing it.
Victor Von Doom, aka Doctor Doom, is one of Marvel's most enduring and recognisable villains. A man with an indomitable will, a continent-sized ego, the iron-plated dictator has long claimed that he is the master of all forms of science, technology, and magic. A pursuit of power largely informed by Doctor Doom's desire to beat the living fuck out of the devil with his meaty metal man hands. So far away, Lucas. I believe we've talked about this briefly in the Wiki Weekend we covered on Victor Von Doom, yes?
Yeah, and I found that snippet so interesting that that's what I did name the video about. But
yes.
I want to get into more detail and actually talk about why is Doctor Doom so fucking cool that he's like, I tell you what, I'm gonna fuck over the devil every year.
Yeah, I want to beat up the devil every year just for shits and gigs. And, for all the people in the comments who are like, haven't you talked about this before? Yes, we did. It was a 2-sentence line that we found so interesting, we're going to expand into an entire video. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, I'm not. I want to talk about Doctor Doom.
Yeah, we want to talk more about this cool character and one of the most interesting parts of his backstory.
Yes, and it actually is one of the most interesting and important parts of Doctor Doom's backstory. So, what do you know about Doctor Doom's transformation from just a guy into an iron-faced baron of his own country?
I don't think I know too much because I think my brain has just been poisoned by the movies. I can't remember the comic book origins of him.
Yeah, and Doctor Doom's movie appearances so far have not been great. I don't mind him in that campy-ass Fantastic Four movie with Chris Evans in it, but it's not Doctor Doom.
It's really not Doctor Doom, no.
No, the theatrics are there, almost, because it's so cartoonish and campy. I feel like that would be the tone of movie that Doctor Doom would be best suited for, because he is a very theatrical villain, and there's all those amazing screenshots out there from the comics of him just being an absolute bellend. And do you have any favourite ones of those? I've got one at the top of the screen, Lucas. What's the one at the top of the screen in the article we're covering right now? Look at that one.
It's just him riding a giant troll with haha, I'm the master of the world.
Just him. And it comes immediately after one of the most famous images of Doctor Doom of, no, Doctor Doom, don't blow on that trumpet. I'm Doctor Doom. I do as I please. Toot. That's where that comes from. That's what that toot summons. It summons that monster. And just the next panel is him riding the monster I rule the world. And you have as I mentioned, his continent-sized ego, where you have him rocking up to the UN and just doing whatever the fuck he wants. Doctor Doom, you can't rock up to the UN and tell everyone to go fuck themselves. Yes, I can. I'm Doctor Doom. I run my own country. He's
I get diplomatic immunity, fuck you.
That's the thing, there's some comics where Captain America has to escort him from his plane. And that's the thing, keep in mind, Doctor Doom can fly and he still makes Captain America walk alongside him.
Oh god! And is it Marvel vs. Capcom 3 where he enters in on his flying throne?
His flying throne, yeah. He turns up on his flying throne. As mentioned, you don't really know much about his origins in the comics, do you?
That's the thing is, I've looked into it in the past, but then I'm getting so many things jumbled that is he a crash test dummy? Nobody knows.
No. Well, the story as the comics tell it is that Doctor Doom was just a scientist. And the accident that turned him into Doctor Doom, he was building a machine. And that machine was one that would allow him to enter the realm of a demonic entity in Marvel known as Mephisto. Because Doctor Doom's backstory pretty much entirely revolves around the fact that his mother died, and he was not happy about that. And it's noted that when his mother died in the comics, because she was a gypsy witch or something like that, she went straight to hell. And Doctor Doom's like, well, my mum's not staying in hell. I'm going to build a machine to go to hell and get her back. And it's noted in the comics that Doctor Doom built that machine with one Reed Richards. And an accident happened during the building of that machine that caused him to be scarred, which eventually resulted in becoming Doctor Doom. So Doctor Doom's origins are intrinsically linked with him going to hell to beat up the devil.
Oh, okay, and is that why he has a grievance with Reed Richards as well?
Yeah, one of the reasons that he has such a hard-on for just dicking over Reed Richards is because in his head he thinks that Reed Richards sabotaged that experiment or did not do the right calculations resulting in an explosion that caused him to become a virtually invincible iron-plated dictator who runs his own country and can fly. It's not really bad for Doctor Doom, is it? Like, his life isn't really that much worse than it was when he was a scientist, save for the fact his face is now metal.
Yeah, that's the thing is, he looks a bit messed up, but at the same time, he gets to be Doctor fucking Doom. What was his plan exactly? Was he just going to build this, machine, go to hell, and just grab his mother? Is that the plan?
Yeah, that was his original plan, because he had no idea what was going on in Mephisto's realm. He just knew that his mother's soul was there. Mm-hmm. According to the comics, after becoming Doctor Doom, the thought of rescuing his mother never left his mind, and when he became the Baron of Iron, the master of magic and technology, he decided to rebuild the machine on his own and build it better than when Reed Richards was helping him. And he did. And he goes to hell, he meets Mephisto, sees his mother, and at that point, Mephisto offers him a pretty simple offer. If you can best me in one-on-one combat, I'll let your mother go. And then Mephisto proceeds to kick the living fuck out of Doctor Doom.
I mean, that's a feat in itself, like Mephisto being able to beat Doctor Doom, because Doctor Doom's no pushover.
And one of the reasons this is so important to Doctor Doom's backstory is that he doesn't often lose. And he's not a man who takes losing very well, as you might imagine, given his ego. And Mephisto knows this and makes a standing offer to Doctor Doom of, come back every year and try again.
Mark it on your calendar, Doctor Doom. Just come back.
That's literally what he does, yeah. Doctor Doom has a day on his calendar marked as the day he goes to hell and tries to beat up the devil.
I've just got this image in my head of just giant block letters over the day, like Mephisto.
That's the thing, that's basically what it is. If anyone's curious about when exactly Doctor Doom travels to Mephisto's realm, it's some day near Halloween where the link between realms is weakened, and therefore it's easier to travel between them.
What does Mephisto actually get out of just letting Doctor Doom come back to beat the shit out of him?
Well, he gets the satisfaction of knowing that Doctor Doom, every time he loses, is becoming more and more despondent. Basically, he is just stepping on the ego of the man with the biggest ego in the Marvel Universe. And as part of their deal, it's noted that every single time Doctor Doom loses, Mephisto saps away some of the goodwill the people of Latveria feel for Doctor Doom. That's one of the things that Mephisto, because I think Mephisto is the one who takes away the love of Mary Jane and Peter Parker. Do you remember that? One of the worst Spider-Man arcs ever.
No.
Because that's something Mephisto can do. Mephisto can take away abstract concepts from your life, and people don't know what we're talking about. One of the worst Marvel storylines ever is because they wanted to reset Spider-Man to just be, hey, I'm Spider-Man, I swing around saving people. After Civil War, where he reveals his identity, Spider-Man trades the knowledge of his secret identity in return for his love between him and Mary Jane. And it's just this awful, and everybody hates it. But yeah, that just shows that Mephisto can take away abstract concepts from the universe just to be a dick most of the time. And that's what he does with Doctor Doom, and that's one of the reasons why Doctor Doom tries so hard to make Latveria an effective utopia, because he knows that once a year he's going to get his ass kicked by the devil, and the people of Latveria, for no explainable reason, will start to hate him just that little bit more.
That's actually quite funny, because it reminds me, I've just been over the last week playing Cult of the Lamb, which, as a recording, just recently came out, and I highly recommend it. But
yes,
there's been times when I go into the dungeon to go defeat, one of the 4 gods that you have to kill.
Yeah.
And if you fail, you come back, and it's all of your followers in the cult are really despondent, and they're just oh man, it's really disappointing. My faith has kind of been lost in you because you didn't live up to your word.
And that's what happens with Doctor Doom. It's like a Telltale game, isn't it? Of the people of Latveria will remember that. And that said, that's one of the reasons why Doctor Doom tries so hard to make Latveria such, as I mentioned, a utopia for his people. And people didn't watch our video on that, which you can find linked here, if we remember to do that after the fact. Doctor Doom uses his mastery over science and technology to turn Latveria into an economic powerhouse. And it's noted that Latveria is, for all intents and purposes, a perfect society with no wants, no crime, no illness, no disease, no poverty or famine. Because Doctor Doom licenses out his shit technology he doesn't use anymore to other countries, which brings in billions of dollars in patent money that he uses to fund universal education, healthcare, and welfare for his people.
For some reason, Doctor Doom is actually the greatest leader in all of existence.
Basically, yeah, and they have a great moment in one comic where Doctor Strange turns up. And he goes on a parade with Doctor Doom, and he's like, oh, you're just putting this on for me, aren't you? All dictators do this. And Doctor Doom gets out of his car and walks over to a random person and goes, citizen, did I tell you to be here? It's like, no, I'm here to celebrate Doom. Why would I not celebrate the man who's turned, like, Latveria from, like, you know, like, rural farmland full of disease and poverty and famine into a fucking utopian vision of, like, the future? But, like, bringing it back to him fist fighting the devil, that's one of the reasons why, as mentioned, he makes Latveria such a wonderland for his people, because every time he loses, their faith in him slips ever so slightly. Also, it's one of the reasons why he's constantly tinkering with, like, you know, his own armaments and improving his knowledge of science, technology, and magic, because he needs to get stronger to save his mom. And that's the reason why he's in, like, peak physical shape despite having access to all that technology, because sometimes he has to fist fight the devil just on his own.
What happens, though, if he brings the Doom Squad with him?
He does try to do that sometimes. And there's a couple of comics where, like, you know, Doom almost wins, and then there's a few where Mephisto comes to Earth just to piss off Doom. Like, there's one where he turns up, and all he does is torture Doctor Doom's mother in front of Doctor Doom so that the screams of his mother distract him, while taunting him of, like, all you've got to do, just give up. And Doctor Doom has this super metal line of, how is this different from any other day? The only thing I ever hear is my mother screaming. And Mephisto gets so pissed off he just leaves. But there is actually a comic recently where Doom manages to triumph over Mephisto. Would you like to hear how that happens?
Yeah, but, like, doesn't that kind of defeat the driving force behind Doom? Like,
it does, but these are comic book, Lucas. You can't keep having a plot line that doesn't get resolved. And do you know what? Eventually, I'm sure there'll be another thing that Doctor Doom is worried about, and, like, you know,
Mephisto just comes back and stabs his mother and brings her back. It's like, no.
What happens in the comics is that Mephisto is surprised when it's not just Doctor Doom who turns up, but Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange. And during their confrontation, Doctor Doom says, I will trade you the soul of Doctor Strange for the soul of my mother. Doctor Doom's mother is so ashamed of her son that he would resort to, sacrificing another soul to save her own, that she is redeemed and therefore is unable to be kept in hell and gets sent to heaven.
Fucking hell.
So, like, you know, Doctor Doom wins via loophole, but here's the rub. Doctor Doom doesn't want to sacrifice Doctor Strange's soul. He actually gives Doctor Strange a device that allows him to escape the moment that he's captured by Mephisto. And then he and Doctor Doom kick the living fuck out of Mephisto and leave. But, as mentioned, like, you know, his mother's disgusted with him and gets sent to heaven, which is a place that Doctor Doom can't go. So the only way he's able to save his mother is by making her renounce him as her son.
I can't wait for, like, the next comic book run where Doctor Doom built, like, a machine to go to heaven to fight God.
That's exactly the joke I made. Of, like, you know, the next one's he's gonna, like, go find a way into heaven now to beat up the angels to apologise to his mom. But what a fucking dog. Oh man, so I think we've talked before as well about, you know, bringing Doctor Doom into the MCU, and they're going to eventually. And I'm just hoping that they don't do any, like, backstory for him. I don't need to see his face get melted off and him building the helmet, which you know they're going to do. But I just want,
like, it to be known that Latveria's been a country for a while, and there's just been this dude ruling the country that no one's had a problem with, and Doom just comes in with his trumpet, declares himself a, like, big dick,
that's
and then he's like, yeah, okay, bye.
Because you know what they're going to do? They're going to have a guy in a suit, and then he's going to get burned, and then he's going to put the mask on. But what I want is I want it to have had the mask on the entire time, but no one ever talks about it, because it's not weird in the MCU. Like, no one ever thought to mention it, because, well, okay, sure, it comes from, like, you know, like, rural who gives a fuck.
I really wouldn't mind if it's just been that he's just... Latveria's existed in the MCU, and he's just been quietly ruling the country and not been up to much. Just, you know, going fighting Mephisto on the quiet. No one's really got a problem with Doom, and then all of a sudden he decides to, you know, take over the world or some shit.
I don't want him to that. What I want is an episode where it's, like, in the UN, and he's just there. Like, do you know in, like, the scene in Star Wars where they have that blink and you miss it shot where, like, the E.T. aliens are in the Senate?
Yeah.
I want it to be like that, where it's in the background, Doctor Doom's there doing paperwork.
Yep, that would be fucking incredible.
Then you just see him fly out through the ceiling, like, he keeps doing that. Oh man. They're not going to do it, though. He's going to be, like I say, he's going to be a guy in a suit, and they're going to do an entire film where you get his origin story melting his face off, and it's like, I don't care.
Come on, Marvel, straight to the trumpets.
Just straight to the trumpet. Like, have them playing it. Like, they could even make the joke about it. They could have, like, you know, his announcement, his arrival could be people playing the trumpets, and then he walks in.
Or he strolls in on the back of a giant Plutron.
Yeah, or in my head, the perfect one would be, and it'd be like a perfect comedy moment of people in front of a door doing, like, you know, the trumpets, and he walks through the wall. Just to be a dick. Do you want to have it focused on the door, and then just walk through the wall next to it?
Doom has arrived.
Yeah, and I want that to be like a running gag every time he's on screen. If he always just walks through the wall and never uses doors. I want it to be like that thing of, like, he has to have a guy running around behind it to open doors, and he just walks straight through it. Make it happen, Marvel. Make it happen.